Here is another lesson on color, trying to make it as simple as we can. I encourage people who are learning color to limit the vocabulary as much as possible. Let's try to make everything as simple as possible. I teach color as if I'm teaching it to a 5 or a 10-year-old, and so I avoid complex words like chroma, hue, tonality, transition, warm, cool. All this stuff just simply makes it very complicated. I mean, for the advanced student, that's fine, but for the beginner, this is color. This is essentially the colors on my palette here. So let's think of it this way. That's a color, that's a color, that's a color, that's a color. These are all simply colors. It's very, very unimportant for us to know what color they are. What's the name of that color? What's the name of that color? What's the name of that color? That's unimportant. The second thing that's most important is after we just call all these colors, the word we're going to use, they're just a color, then the second term, is it a darker or a lighter color? So we know that this is a darker color, this is a lighter color. We know that this is a darker color and this is a lighter color. We know that this is darker, this is lighter, this is darker, that's lighter. Now if we take this back like this, we know that that's darker and this is lighter. We know that that is darker and this is lighter. We know that that is darker right there and this is lighter. We know that's darker, this is lighter. We know that's darker, this is lighter. That's all the further we want to go. We don't want to get into warm, cool. We don't want to get into blues and reds and yellows and greens and oranges. Simply, the question is it a color? It's a color. It's a color. It doesn't matter if it's black, if it's blue. We take our color straight out of the tube and we make it as strong as we can. Here's an orange. We'll just call it a color. Now if we add water, that's watercolor, we add water to it and then we make a stroke, that color is lighter. That's a darker color, that's a lighter color. That's all we need to know. If you want to get extravagant, you call it a dark orange and a light orange. That's it. Let's go over to the green. The green comes out of the tube. If we mix very little water with it, it's going to be a darker green. If we mix more water with it, it's a lighter green. That's all we need to know. We don't even know it's a green. We just call it a darker color and a lighter color. We go over to a purple. That's a darker purple because we don't add as much water. We add more water to it. It's a lighter purple. So these are all colors pretty much out of my tube, and then I add water to them, and then that's one way to make a color lighter. In watercolor, we simply add water and the color will get lighter. Okay, these are all colors. These are the swatches I had, but I cut them up in pieces. This is a lighter color, a darker color, a darker color, a medium color, medium dark. This is a light color, light. This is a really light color. This is a medium color. This is a dark color. And another word for calling a color dark or light is calling it a value. So we could say that's a light value, that's a dark value. That's a medium light value, that's a medium value. That's a dark value. So the value is not the color, it's just telling us how dark it is. So that's light, it's a light color, so we'll call it a value. Instead of calling them all different colors, just say it's a light value, dark value. And that we need all of our understanding of color in painting is built on this. This is the foundation. Everything is color. These are all colors, number one. Number two, they are all values. Color and value. A color is always a value and a value is always a color. They're exactly the same thing. So value is the second word we use. Once we leave color, we say these are all values, and then we say are they darker or lighter values. Not what color are they. They're simply darker colors means darker value, lighter colors mean lighter value. Okay? So again, these are all colors. Light colors, dark colors, medium tone colors. The next thing we want to go into is using the words red, yellow, and blue. So far we've used the word color, everything is color, and we've used the word value. These are all values. All value is a color, and all colors are a value. Now we're going to try to get a little more specific, and we're just going to think of all color as red, yellow, and blue. So I think we could agree that this is a red color, this is more of a yellow color, and this is more of a blue. So let's separate those three colors because they're the primary colors we're going to use here. So there's a red, yellow, and a blue. And if all these colors are red, yellow, and blue, a good way to start would be to say which one of these seem like they're more red, yellow, or blue. So this seems more yellow, this seems more yellow, this seems like it might be a little more yellow. This, who knows, over here. And then this seems kind of like a light red, and we're not sure about that. And this seems like a blue, seems kind of bluish. So what we have here again are our primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. This is, of course, a darker blue, and this is a lighter red, and this is a lighter yellow. So what is this color here? Well, this color, obviously it has some red in it and has some yellow in it. It has a touch of blue, because if we add a touch of blue to an orange, we're gonna get a gray. So let's take a look at this color here. Well, that looks a lot like a blue, but it's grayed a little bit. So it might be just that we added water to that, but it looks a little gray, which means it probably has just a touch of red and yellow in it. Let's take this color right here. Now that's a brown, of course. So how do we get brown using red, yellow, and blue? We have to use, first of all, probably use a darker blue. So make sure we use plenty of dark blue, and then we need a touch of red. That's going to make a purple, and we add a touch of purple, yellow to our purple, and it turns into a dark brown. How do we get this color from red, yellow, and blue? We need a yellow, but we preferably need a yellow that's a little more like this. It needs to be a little bit more like that. That's a little bit of an orange. But if we get a yellow like that, and we get a blue like that, maybe even a blue like this, then we're going to come up with a green. If that green is a little bit gray, it's not a bright green, then we add a little bit of red to it. So all the colors we see, all of these colors, we can come very, very close to getting by using red, yellow, and blue. I've covered this in another lesson. An earlier lesson, I show you how to use red, yellow, and blue to mix flesh. But again, so this is a little bit of covering old stuff. But if we take yellow here, we got yellow, just to get a bright yellow. We take some blue, and we mix them together, we're going to get a green, okay? So that's greenish. So if we clean that out, clean our brush out here, and now let's take our yellow and take some red and mix it together, and of course we get an orange. And then if we mix blue and red together, we get a purple, and if we mix all three of these together, we are going to get a brown. So here's kind of a brown. So remember that all the colors we see everywhere in our skin, everywhere, is essentially, in a very basic way, the beginning way to think of it, for most painters actually, a good way to think of everything is every color we see, landscape, portraits, everything, just think it's red, yellow, and blue. The question is how much red, how much yellow, how much blue. So let's test it. So we have a piece of paper here, and we want to know, using red, yellow, and blue, what color is that? Well, we start out and say it looks like it has yellow. So we put yellow on our paper, and we simply say, is that the same color as that? Well, it looks like it's a two yellow green. Let's add some red to it. We could say, could we add blue to it? If we add blue, it's going to turn green. So let's add some red to it. Come down here, add some red, and so it gets a lot closer. It's a little bit reddish. Let's add a little bit more yellow to it. And again, we've already covered this, but if it's too dark, remember, everything is dark, medium, and light. If it's too dark, add water. That's the easiest way to lighten a color in watercolor. Just add water, lift it out, and it's going to get lighter. So now this is getting lighter than that. So if we get too light, we add more red, yellow, and blue. Not just yellow, red, yellow, and blue. Add some more yellow. Does it need more red? And go back and forth until we get those colors right, okay? That's how to get a color right. And then the next thing is we move on to a face. So if you take a face or a landscape, it's the same thinking. You look at any given color and you say, is that red, yellow, or blue? And you look at this color here. Is that red, yellow, or blue? And you could take your blue, say, well, I think it's blue. Well, let's make a mistake on purpose. Let's say we think it's yellow. Okay, well, I don't think that's the same color. I think everybody can see that. So lift that, it has very little yellow in it. Let's go to blue. And we get the blue down there. And then we say, is that the same color? It needs a little bit of red and a little bit of red and blue. Now that's getting pretty close. And then we could say, well, it needs a little more blue. And it needs a little more red. And then we get, now we're getting closer to the color we want. And how do we mix a brown? Now our hair gets kind of brown up here. So again, that color is red, yellow, and blue. You don't know what color to mix, start out with a dark color. Put some blue down here and say, is that the color? Well, it's a little blue, so we could add yellow to it, it'll turn green, but let's add a little bit of red to it. So we add red to it, turns purple. Now let's add just a touch of yellow to it, and now it's getting closer to the color we want to get. And if we keep doing that, remember the most important thing, first of all, is not getting the color right, it's getting the value right. Is that the right darkness? Next important is does it need more red, yellow, and blue? So if we take a face like this, the most important thing to remember is the drawing right? Number two, are the values right? The colors we've chosen, are they the proper darkness? Is that color light enough? Is that color dark enough? Is this color dark enough or light enough? And if we get that right, we're probably going to have a nice painting. The third thing, least important, is getting the color right. But if you want to try to get the color right, start out using just red, yellow, and blue. And look at everything here is either red, yellow, or blue. And then we start working on our portrait. Okay, so here I finished the painting, and again, if we take the squares and we check that here, we put a square here, we put another square here, and you can see, I think you can see that my colors are about 90% accurate. Let's go over here to this part here. That's very light, and I come over here and that's very light. So get the values right and get the color get the value of the color right. Get that so it's the right darkness. Doesn't matter if the color's off. Get it the right darkness. And then get it the right, let's go over here, use these squares to check, and you can get a rough idea that I'm a little bit lighter there, but I'm close. And let's go up to the forehead here. And so there it is like that. Now, if we want to get the color, instead of just using any color, we want to get it right. The last stage is to simply put a color down and simply say, should I add more red, more yellow, or blue? And we need just a nice, strong, deep blue, and we need a nice, bright red and a nice, strong yellow. It doesn't matter that much what red, yellow, or blue you use. And if your color is too intense, we talked about this at the beginning, simply add water to it, and it will lighten the color, and it will lessen the brightness or the intensity of the color. So, but intensity is not, we don't need that word for now. Just make it more red, more yellow, more blue, and make it lighter or make it darker until you get it right. Make sure your drawing's right, because if the drawing is not right, and if the values are not right, and we're trying to capture the way she looks, we are doomed. You got to get the drawing right, we got to get the value right, and we don't have to get the color right. And if you get that right and you have a good subject, you're going to have a nice painting.